This presentation provides analysis of the public submissions of the Citizens' Assembly on gender equality and the theme of women's access to and representation in public life and decision-making. The submissions to the Citizens' Assembly are best understood as a non-representative sample of people and organisations with a stake in these issues. We adopt a problem and solution-based approach. In what follows, we provide an overview of the key concerns and solutions across the submissions on this theme, alongside a series of problem and solution-based analysis that captures through excerpt quotes the consensus, minority and dissenting views. There was a broad consensus across all submissions that women are underrepresented in public life and decision-making and that this contributes to gender inequality. Key concerns. The key concerns included that barriers to women's representation and participation include the structure of public roles, gender stereotypes about leadership and different standards applied to women and men in public life. That party political culture and institutions maintain overrepresentation of men in political office, and the demands of political office are often incompatible with care and family life. That cultural networks of recruitment and promotion advantage men and maintain women's underrepresentation in leadership in business and higher education. That women's underrepresentation in media and decision-making in media industries is a problem. Also that women are represented in stereotypical ways in traditional and social media, areas of public life where women experience hostility and abuse. That women from minority groups are underrepresented in media and higher education and excluded from senior decision-making roles and representation in political office. And that gender-balanced representation is lacking, but positive actions and initiatives can deliver change. Submissions identified solutions to these concerns. These included that education can challenge gender stereotypes about who should participate in public life and who can be a good leader. Flexible working hours, family-friendly policies in public life, alongside gender-sensitive candidate recruitment, selection processes and rules of conduct can help attract and retain women in political office. The gender balance in decision-making requires transparency in recruitment processes, unconscious bias training, mentoring programs and gender quotas. Targets and quotas to reach gender balance can be used in media decision-making, production, coverage, and participation in programming, alongside protocols to tackle gender stereotyping and representation, and legislation to prohibit abuse directed at women in social media. That initiatives that promote inclusiveness alongside mentoring and training can help minority women increase their representation and participation in public roles. Problem A identified that organisation and the culture of public roles was leading to women's underrepresentation. For this submission, the manner in which leadership is practiced favours traditional roles, activities and interests of men. For another, it can be intimidating to be the only woman in the room, especially if you feel you have to constantly defend your position and your qualifications. Women's interest in public life was also raised as an issue across submissions on this theme. In this submission, it was stated, we are talking about areas where you need to be bloodthirsty and often cruel as well as two-faced. As stated, most people, especially women, are not suited to such things. Another submission also suggested that women were not interested in public roles. The problem arises from the reluctance of women to participate in such activities because nowadays every woman can run a company and manage it, start elections and hear the voters decide. These are independent women's decisions. Other submissions disagreed. Women do not go up for leadership positions because they strongly disagree with the masculinist way in which institutions are being run. Another submission pointed to factors outside in society. Broader social factors keep women out of public life. Women's lack of confidence, gender stereotyping, unfair and unequal weight of caring assigned to women as opposed to men. Problem A had a series of solutions recommended. Raise girls to be confident and value their voice. Stop interrupting us when we speak. Providing girls especially with relatable leadership role models who they perceive as similar to themselves. Educate men on the downsides of creating a lad culture so that they're aware how their behaviours can deter women from participating and succeeding in leadership positions. Make sure they understand the benefits of a diverse leadership team with statistics. Problem B relates to women's representation in media. Wherever you look, women are still underrepresented in the film industry. The proportion of finances allocated to their projects is less than their male colleagues. Other submissions focused on women's representation in the media. In terms of media treatment of men and women, I don't know where to start. Women can be referred to in terms of their relationship to a man rather than in their own terms. overemphasis on looks, appearance and dress, but not for men. For another submission, it is incredibly difficult to be seen as a strong, worthy leader if constantly portrayed as an angry, shrill woman. Another submission drew attention to the abuse that some women experience in media. Women are still held to a different standard than men, receive more threats of violence against them on social media. This abuse needs to be addressed. Solutions for problem B included press Ombudsman Office to maybe examine the use of language around gender of politicians and produce guidelines to help combat gendered stereotyping, which creates public mistrust of women in high office, even after we've had 2 female presidents. Also, the media need to look at panels on radio, chat shows, etc., and make sure women are represented. Tech companies could do a lot more to stop the online abuse of women. The state will probably have to force them to do so. Problem C relates to women's underrepresentation in decision-making in business and the public sector. For this submission, the concentration of women in lower paid jobs outside of senior management roles and few supports for working parents are deeply connected to the low levels of women in economic decision-making. For other submissions, the structure and the culture and the networks in these organisations were problematic. Captured in this statement, women are still not being considered for senior roles. They are being shouted down or dismissed in the boardroom, even if they get in there. Men doing business over a pint in a pub after office hours while women rush home to look after their children, etc. Too much business is done in situations and places that exclude women. The solutions put forward for problem C included women or governments should lead this, ensure state boards are equally represented. There is a need for absolute accountability and complete transparency during any recruitment processes. Create mentoring programs for women at all stages of their career. Problem D relates to women's underrepresentation in political office. Here, the institutions and the culture of political institutions and parties were considered to be issues that needed to be confronted. This is captured in this statement. The hours of the Dáil are not family friendly. The confrontational style of the Dáil is old-fashioned and very masculine way of working. No childcare expenses can be claimed if running for office, no maternity leave for politicians or ability to use a proxy if a child is ill, etc. Women in public roles face far more comment, criticism and harassment than their male counterparts. Solutions to problem D include the grassroots system of selection needs to be reformed, root and branch. It's male-dominated, it's dominated by dynasties, it's still all very old school. An entitlement to maternity, adoptive leave should be introduced for all elected TDs, senators and councillors. Some submissions suggested the use of a quota for the underrepresented gender. Quotas for all walks of public life. Legislation is the only thing that will overcome such barriers. It can always be repealed if and when it achieves its objectives. The women are qualified and experienced, they just need the opportunity. Another submission disagreed. Quota to any position is not equal opportunities, it is forcing equal outcomes. Almost every position is open to a woman. Just like a man, they must all show their worth. Hiring someone based on sex to fill a quota is sexual discrimination. What was evident across all submissions on this theme was a common sentiment that equality in women's representation in public life should extend to all women. This is captured in this statement. Diversity in local representation matters. It is often those who are furthest away from power, traveller and Roma women, working class women, disabled women, migrant women and carers who experience the impact of policy making the most. Analysis of all submissions on this theme revealed another common point of consensus. This is indicated in the final statement. Gender balance in leadership roles in trade unions, business, politics and public life is crucial to ensure accountability and responsiveness to women and all the diversity, ensuring that the voices of women are heard in decision-making and that their participation is supported and resourced is key to tackling gender inequalities from the ground up.